The Boeing 747, an engineering marvel, a symbol of global travel, and one of the most recognizable aircraft ever built. It has carried millions of passengers across the world, setting records for range, capacity, and reliability. But even the mightiest of machines are not immune to the dangers of aviation. And when combined with one of the world's most dangerous airports, the results can be catastrophic. Airports are designed with safety in mind, but some locations push the limits of what is possible. Nestled between towering mountains, battered by unpredictable winds, or built with runways barely long enough for a safe landing, these airports test the skills of even the most experienced pilots. One such airport has earned a reputation for being among the deadliest in the world. It's here that the unthinkable happened, not once, but twice. Two deadly flights, both involving a Boeing 747, ended in tragedy at an airport notorious for its extreme conditions. These disasters serve as haunting reminders of how even the most advanced aircraft can succumb to the perils of flight when nature, environment, and human error converge in a perfect storm. The first flight was a routine cargo operation, carrying precious goods across international borders. The crew had navigated thousands of miles, guided by years of training and experience. But as the massive jet approached its final destination, the pilots faced a challenge that would push their abilities to the limit. The airport's location alone was enough to instill fear in even the most seasoned aviators. Surrounded by steep terrain, with unpredictable wind shear and a dangerously short runway, landing required absolute precision. One mistake, one miscalculation, and disaster was inevitable. As the Boeing 747 descended, everything seemed to be going according to plan. The flaps were set, the speed was controlled, and the runway came into view. But nature had other plans. Without warning, a sudden gust of wind caught the aircraft from the side, destabilizing its approach. The pilots reacted instantly, fighting to regain control. With the ground rapidly approaching, they had only seconds to decide: abort the landing or commit to a risky touchdown. They chose the latter. But as the wheels made contact, disaster struck. The plane was coming in too fast, unable to slow down in time. The end of the runway rushed toward them as the brakes fought to counter the enormous momentum of the aircraft. There was no room left. The Boeing 747 ran out of runway, overshooting the airport and plunging into the unforgiving terrain beyond. A fiery explosion lit up the night, and the wreckage told a grim story. Rescue teams raced to the scene, but the damage had already been done. The tragic loss of life marked one of the most devastating moments in aviation history. But the story did not end there. Years later, another Boeing 747 approached the same airport, unaware that history was about to repeat itself. This time, it was a passenger flight. Hundreds of souls on board, expecting nothing more than a smooth landing. But the dangers remained, and so did the unpredictable forces that made this airport so feared. The approach was challenging from the start. Strong crosswinds buffeted the aircraft as it made its descent. The pilots remained focused, scanning their instruments, adjusting their inputs, doing everything in their power to bring the plane down safely. They knew they had one chance. This was not an airport where a second attempt was always an option. The final moments were eerily similar to the first disaster. The aircraft was fighting against unseen forces, wrestling against the elements. But this time, the outcome was even more tragic. As the plane descended, a sudden wind shift sent it veering off course. The crew struggled to correct, but it was too late. The Boeing 747 clipped a ridge just before the runway, sending it tumbling into a catastrophic crash. Emergency crews rushed to the scene, but once again, devastation was all that remained. The loss of life was staggering, and the world mourned yet another tragedy at this notorious airport. These two disasters serve as chilling reminders of the delicate balance between skill, technology, and nature